Hi everyone. Thank you very much for signing up and being here for this session. So a couple of things just quickly before we start. Sometimes I get a bit sweary in a talk like this, so if I do, I apologize. And the other piece is, it's not just going to be me talking at you for an hour, I am going to be asking you to talk to each other. That happens. And I'm going to ask you to kind of share back a bit with me as well. That happens. There's a microphone which is going to be helpful to just pass around so that we can hear when you are responding back. So what is positive psychology about? Why do we, where did it come from? What's the kind of stuff about it? It's about the study of what makes people thrive. And it's a really interesting topic because it's not something we often think about. We think about, right, I've got to get on with my life, I've got to do my, I've got to earn my wages, I've got to be a good professional, and I've got to do these kind of things. If I have a family, I've got to look after them. If I've got my friends, all that kind of good stuff. If I've got, your mortgages and whatever, you've got to pay for all that kind of stuff as well. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're living well. It just means that we're living. So how do we thrive? What does that mean? And that's a really interesting question, which positive psychology really starts to look at, puts quite a spotlight on it to say, the people out there who are living well and they're thriving and they're having vibrant lives, what does that mean? What do we know about them? How do we start to accommodate some of those practices in ourselves so that we can all do the same as well? So that's my interest in this. I've been studying this myself for about the last 10 years. And there's a lot of good stuff out there, a lot of good stuff. So if you want to know some kind of good pointers about where to start reading on this stuff, Flourish by Martin Seligman is a really good book. He's also the founder of the field of positive psychology. So it's a really good starting place. There's another professor called Tal Ben-Shahar, and he's done a lot of work in this field, and he's really done some really, really good stuff, as well as Grit by Barbara Fredrickson. So those are three kind of books that if you want to get an easy start into what does this field talk about, really good places to start to do that. Right, so human connection is absolutely vital for human living. It's absolutely vital for our well-being, and it's the most important thing. So I'm going to ask you to just, if you haven't already, and if you are sat with each people that you know, is just say hello to the person that you're sat next to, and just, hi, this is me, who are you? Just do that quickly, go, please. Okay, that'll do, thank you very much. Shh. All right, thanks. So what I love about that, and is absolutely fantastic, is the energy that you get from doing that. Now, imagine that happens on a day-to-day basis with the everyday people that you meet. When you're going to get your coffee and the barista is serving you, come on in, and the barista is serving you, and you have just a nice, hi, how are you? How's your day going today? It creates that connection, and those connections are so important. We have no idea what's going on for people in their day-to-day lives. When you just take that moment to say, hi, how are you? How's your day going? It puts people into a whole different shift. Gets them going, gets them moving, and most people appreciate it. Most people appreciate it, unless you're a cynical type, and why are you asking me how I am? I don't know who you are. All those kind of weird things, right? But most people appreciate that that's where you're coming from, and it starts to help us to feel better about what we're doing. So another question for you then is, what does it mean to thrive? Because it's a really hard question. So here's another question. I want you to think about it for a moment, and then I'm going to get you to discuss it with people that you're sat around. So the question is, what do you do that makes you feel vibrant? So if you don't know what the word vibrant means, it means that when you're feeling at your absolute best, you are feeling so joyful, so full of life, so ready to just go out there and own the world that nothing can stop you. What do you do that helps you to feel that? It's a hard question because most people don't think about it. Most people don't think about, let me go and be awesome today because that's what I want to achieve out of my day. Most people just think, I need to just get through the day. That's a very, very different thing. So, question is, what do you do that helps you to feel vibrant? Have a quick discussion with each other about it. Just do that, please. Okay, so thank you for answering that. Hopefully there's a bit of a discussion there to help you start thinking about this stuff. I'm going to ask Jem, who's going to walk around with a mic, who's happy to just share some stuff. Who's happy to do that? So I'll tell you what my stuff is, because it's not fair for me to ask you without me letting you know where I come from on this stuff. So things that help me feel vibrant are when I do things like this, actually, when I'm able to talk with a group of people, I get a lot of energy from it. It really builds me up, and it fills me with so much good, positive stuff that I'm ready to go out there and just smash everything I can, right? It's so good. It's just feeling great about stuff. But also, I have a range of stuff, which I've realized that really help me to feel great. So the other kind of stuff is that when I'm with my friends who really help me to feel good, who help build me up, who help strengthen who I am as an individual, they make me feel vibrant because I'm doing stuff with important people in my life who really give me a lot of energy, right? So that's where I come from, right? So open sharing about that. So who else is happy to do that? Just let us know, and then Jem can run around with a mic. Oh, wow, right at the back. Sorry, Jem. Hello.
Hello. We spoke about 3 different things. So we spoke about friends, communication, kind of good nights out with a great bunch of people.
Yeah.
But we also spoke about kind of day-to-day stuff and maybe at work getting appreciation or feedback, just kind of that buzz
Nice.
of kind of having that job well done kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then we also spoke about there might be stuff that you do on your own, like reading a great book and kind of having that time and space to do that. So there's a bit of a range.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
Just to add,
Yeah.
we also feel like we feel better and thrive when we are with people who want you to be better.
Fantastic. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Anybody else happy to share? Oh, right there, okay.
Slightly on a different theme. I like to play tennis.
Yeah?
And when you're in a match and you're really in the zone,
Yeah.
and it's just you, and you perform, you feel great afterwards.
That's great.
So, it makes me feel alive.
Yeah, nice. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, so great, thank you. And I'm not going to have time to, we've got lots of this, right? So I'm going to be asking you to do stuff, and you're going to talk back to me, and it's all great, right? So the kind of essence of the stuff here is we don't think about this stuff. We just don't. Not really. We know we can do stuff that helps us to feel good, but what we don't do is we don't purposefully set out to do the stuff that helps us to feel great about ourselves. If I want to be awesome, I have to do the stuff that makes me feel that. It doesn't just happen. And it's not because other people say, hey, you know what, you need to be awesome today, I'm going to help you to do that. Yes, some people do that, and when they do, they are fantastic people, and we should have them in our lives. But a lot of it is, I can drive that myself. If I don't know what that is for myself, I need to ask those questions to myself to figure out, what does that mean? I need to really get into that so I can start to have that more as a regular pattern, because that's the stuff that builds optimism. That's the stuff that builds longer-lasting feelings of positivity and increases your resilience as well. So when you're having tough days and when you're having bad days, you're more able to get through because you know you've done good stuff and you've got good stuff coming. So when you're having those bad days and you're like, yeah, today I'm just feeling shit and I don't really want to do anything, that's okay. You can sit with that. You can sit with it and let it happen because you know there's something else coming. And you know there's been good stuff already behind you as well. So let's just move on a bit and talk about where did the field come from? What does it talk about? So some of the stuff that we need to be clear about, positive thinking is not positive psychology. And the reason I've got this up here as an image is if you've broken your leg, you can't positively think your way out of a broken leg. It just doesn't happen. I can't just suddenly get up and think, I'm going to absolutely walk today and feel fine, because you can't. There's a healing process that has to happen. So there's a limitation to where positive thinking can take us. It's good, it's helpful. I'm not saying we don't do it, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. We should, right? Because it can help us think through things in a better way. Right? If you've had a bad journey in, at least I got into work, that kind of stuff, right? It can help you to reframe where you're at with stuff. But if things are fundamentally in a bad place, and if they're fundamentally broken, you can't positively think your way out of it. It just doesn't happen. Because all you're doing is sticking a sticky plaster over it. You're not dealing with the root cause. So positive thinking can be good, can be helpful. It's not the main thing you should be trying to focus on. The stuff we should be focusing on is the other stuff I'm going to be talking about during this lecture, is day-to-day activities. Those are the things that help to truly build your well-being and your resilience around stuff. So where did this all come from? Martin Seligman, when he started, so he's trained as a psychotherapist, and he did a lot of work with helping people to get to what they call from a state of -5 to 0. Right? So -5 is severe manic depression, when you're feeling at your absolute worst, and getting them to 0, which is everyday existence, right? Just normal, what we might define as normal. And he said, if you can help people to get to that stage, that's an amazing achievement right there. We've really helped people to do some important stuff. Come on in, you're okay. Well, what he said was, why aren't we also trying to help people move from 0 to +5? And +5 is vibrancy, right? That's why I got you to think about the vibrant question right at the beginning, is because that's a stage which is accessible to a lot of people. So how do we help them shift there? How do we help move up to that? And that's what he said, and when he was president of the psychology profession in the US, that's what he set out his stall to do. He said, I want us to start focusing on this because we can help more people think about how to improve their lives when they're already doing all the stuff they should be doing. So if you're doing all the normal stuff you should be doing, then you're achieving a lot in life already. How do you start to push that forward and feel absolutely great about life? That's where the whole study comes from. That's where the thinking around this all comes from. And what's important about all of that is that there's the stuff I'm going to be talking about next is it's all based in actual proper research, not just some philosopher sitting down thinking, I think this is what humans need in order to survive and thrive. It's actual proper studies of, well, let's get you to do this, let's get you to do that, and let's get you to do the other. Let's measure the differences between you all, and we can truly understand what makes a difference. So I'm going to talk to you about some of those things. Okay. So the theory he puts forward it's about this model called PERMA. You can Google that. You'll find out a lot about that in different ways. And the focus here is that it's about well-being, and it's not about happiness, which might also sound counter to what we think positive psychology should be about. So when I talk about positive psychology, it's rare I'll talk about happiness as a thing. And the reason for that is, come on in, the reason for that is happiness is a very transient feeling. It's a very transient emotion. It happens now, it doesn't last for the day, because other stuff comes in and happens along the way. So what we need to reconsider is, so if I want to feel better, longer, what are the regular activities I'm doing? And that's where this model really starts to help us to think about that. The other side of this as well is that positive psychology, it does not say, and it does not recommend that we don't deal with the hard stuff in life. It says you absolutely have to deal with the hard stuff in life. Because if you don't deal with the hard stuff in life, it's going to come back and bite you in some really horrid ways, and you just don't want that to happen. So what it says is that you can have bad stuff happen, you can have hard stuff happening in life, and at the same time, you can do things that help you to feel good. We can have that balance as humans. It's very, very possible to do that. And I think about that in terms of kind of the context of a lot of things in today's society. We've got everything happening from Trump to Brexit to people loving Marmite. I don't get that, by the way. Misogyny, racism, sexism. There's a lot of bad stuff going on out there in the world right now. It's possible for all of those bad things and hard things to be happening, and at the same time, it's very possible to say, yeah, I also need to take care of myself. I also need to make sure that I am well, so that when I need to, I can step up and challenge those things in the best way possible. I remember a recent example of this where on social media, there was a lot of people commenting on that when Harry and Meghan got married, how is there so much joy for that when there's so much bad stuff happening in the world? It's like the two things can exist at the same time, people. They don't have to be, just because you're annoyed about all the bad stuff happening in the world, doesn't mean you can't feel joyful about things like that, right? And in a similar way, we have lots of things that are happening in our day-to-day life we can feel actually joyful for. It doesn't mean that just because there's bad or hard stuff happening, that I can't do that. We can have that duality of stuff. It's very, very possible. So, first piece is about positive emotions. So, how do we cultivate a regular pattern of thinking that helps us to think positively about what's happening to us as an individual? How do I do that? It's a hard question. How do you think positively on a regular basis? What do you do for that? And this isn't about positive thinking, but it's about the emotions that come with it, right? So, calling out, please do just respond back to me. I haven't got the mic going around. But when you think about positive emotions, what kind of positive emotions come to mind? Laughing, yeah. What else? Sorry? Respect, yeah, absolutely. Feeling grateful, great. Trust, yeah. What else? Thankful, yeah. Being recognized, yeah. Say that again. Contentment, yeah, nice. What else? Forgiveness, love it. Okay, nice, real nice. Excitement, yeah, absolutely. So, all those words, right? Really great descriptors for what positive emotions we have in life. How do we cultivate those? What are we doing that helps us to recognize those when they happen? We can enjoy them, and we can accept them for ourselves as well. It's not an easy set of stuff, because we don't tend to think that way. We're not wired for it necessarily. Yeah, a lot of reality TV isn't geared towards helping us feel good about ourselves. It's about comparing ourselves to others and seeing what other people are doing in their lives and putting them down for it. Yeah, that's not the right kind of stuff, right? But it's addictive because of other stuff. And so we really have to think through the stuff that we consume. How does that help me to feel good? How does that help me to be a better person? I'm not saying don't watch reality TV, right? Everyone needs a bit of trash in their lives. It's okay to do that. What I'm saying is that there's other things that we can and should be doing that help us to actually feel better for me and help me to be a better person in general. I just want to be an awesome human being. How do we do that? So one activity that can really, really help with that is this activity. It's around 3 good things. So if you search on Twitter, #3goodthings, not the word, but the number 3, you'll see some amazing things on there that people are grateful for, that they're noting down. So what is the practice? The practice is daily writing down what are the 3 good things that went well for me that day. And just making that a regular practice. And it's an easy thing to do, and also it's an incredibly hard thing to do. Because sometimes you forget about it. Sometimes you forget what am I supposed to be grateful for that happened to me today. And it can be something as simple as, I got up today and I had a sandwich. It can be as simple as that, right? And it can be something as loving as, I saw my kids and they came and gave me a hug. Or it can be as joyful as, I went out with my friends and we just had an absolute blast and we had a really great laugh with each other. Or it could be, I went to the cinema and I enjoyed a film all by myself and no one else was around me and I had that peace and quiet. It's whatever it is for you, right? Because it's about you as an individual. It's not about, I have to compare this to anyone else's good things. It's about my good things. What I love about this is that when they did the research into how do we help cultivate positive feelings for the day, they did the normal kind of experiment. They split it out. So they said to one group, group 1, just go ahead and just write down any reflections on your day, just anything. To group 2, they said do this. And to group 3, they said, the opposite, write down things that you didn't appreciate about your day, right? And obviously the group who didn't appreciate stuff about their day, they tend to not feel great about stuff because all they're focusing on is the negative. All they're focused on is, man, that was a hard day. I didn't really appreciate anything about my day today, even though there may have been good things. They weren't there because that wasn't the question they were being posed. The people who just reflected on their day, they didn't report anything any different because it was just a normal day. I don't know, today was just fine, right? I just did what I had to do. I went to work, I had my food, I saw my people, and I went to bed. What's so special about that? Whereas the people who wrote about 3 good things that happened in their day, they clearly had a better, longer view of what made them feel good because their focus was different. The question is important. The question drives that kind of thinking to help you to think differently. So, an ask for you. If you haven't done it, if you haven't thought, oh, well, let me try that right now, do it right now. Yesterday, or today, it's up to you. Yes, go.
Should you not write down 3 good things and 3 bad things to get a perspective?
So it's an interesting one. Right? I get that question asked quite regularly. The simple answer is no, you shouldn't do it. Right? But the reason for that is that what we're trying to do is we want to build longer lasting feelings of positivity. If you start to try and balance that with, well, what are the 3 bad things as well, you're not building the positivity. What you're doing is you're just maintaining normality, which is fine, right? There's nothing wrong with normal, right? There is a reality based to a lot of things in life. But if I want to feel better about myself, I have to just focus on I have to appreciate what's going well. That's the key thing. Because if we start then to go down into, because what will happen is, you'll write the 3 good things, you'll write the 3 bad things, and then your focus is dropped onto those 3 bad things. You don't focus on those good things anymore. It's just, oh yeah, I've got to write the 3 good things. Now let me get to the bad things because I've got a lot to bear here. Yeah, it just doesn't drive that kind of behavior that we're looking for. Right, so if you haven't done it already, write down the 3 good things for yesterday that happened. For yesterday. Just go ahead, write it down for yourselves. If you're happy to, just talk to each other about it as well. Just share it. Okay. So the problem is when you ask people to do something that gives them energy, they don't want to stop. So I'm going to ask a question now, and I'm hoping you'll be able to respond back to me. I don't want you to necessarily share your 3 good things. They're personal. They're yours, right? You own that. If you make that a regular practice, what you'll see is that your focus tends to drive towards that naturally, because you're more interested in wanting to reflect back on, I want to know what happened that went well in my day today. I don't want to necessarily look back and think, man, I'm really, really ungrateful. There's a guy that Jem and I know, a gentleman named Ian Pettigrew, who's coming in to do one of the Wellbeing lectures. And this guy, right, I genuinely, I think back on this, and it's actually awesome. So, not the beginning bit's not awesome. He was walking down Oxford Street, and he fell over. We still don't know what happened. He fell over, he cracked his head open, and he was bleeding out, and he had to be rushed to hospital. 3 people found him, they looked after him, made sure that the ambulance came, got him, and he went off, right? And he was in hospital, and he came around later that day, no idea what had happened to him, and he got told by the medics what had happened, and that he was safe. He was safe, he was fine. They didn't know what happened, but actually it wasn't too bad. He was actually okay. And at the end of that day, he tweeted out his 3 good things. And I'm like, mate, you just had your head cracked open. How are you tweeting good things that have happened? But he's got that kind of approach and that kind of mentality that he recognized that for him, that was what he needed to be resilient. It's what he needed to help him get through what was actually quite a traumatic thing. And it's quite a thing to be able to do that. So just an open question. In either reflecting on your 3 good things yesterday or hearing about it from the others when you shared it, what was important for you just from doing that? And Jem's got the mic, so we'll try and catch that. Just let us know. Hello.
Hi. I think for me, when I look back, it gave me a warm feeling inside, thinking back to the nice things that I appreciated from yesterday.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you. Who else? Yeah. Down in the middle. I think it's Jem. Just. Hello.
Hello. For me, it was actually, I'm thinking back to other, trying to be grateful for the past week now.
Right.
I'm thinking that actually it's a realisation that some of my good things that have happened are things that maybe I've done that have made me feel good, and that was just something that I thought was interesting.
Nice. Good. Thank you. So I appreciate everyone sharing there as well. I think it's one of the, it's an easy activity to do. It's an easy activity to do because all you're doing is you're just making note of it. The important piece is that when they dug into it further about it is you're forcing yourself to articulate what went well. It's not just looking back and saying, oh yeah, today was a good day. It's actually going through and thinking, but what about it was good? Why was it good? I have to write that down. I have to express that. I have to give it life. I have to give it meaning. And so when you do that, that's the thing. That's the thing that pushes it over into, that's what's going to help you to feel good, is because you recognize the specifics of what those things are about. Other types of things that yes, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
I'm just wondering where the number 3 comes from and what if you had more?
Oh, it's fantastic. So I did this with my children, right? And they get competitive about this stuff. And the oldest one said, Dad, yeah, we can do, I said, right, so everyone go through 3 good things. Dad, I've got another 4. It's like, what? That's great. If you've got more to be grateful about, why wouldn't we want to talk about that? That's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. It's just 3 is just an easy number where you don't have to feel so bad that if you don't have more, you don't feel bad about it. If you just have 1 for the day, that's fine. It's just, it could be any number truly, yeah. But other kind of things we can do as well is there's a type of activity called a gratitude visit, which is where you take the time to go and let someone know what you're grateful to them for. What did they do for you directly that you want to say, actually, you know what, that was really awesome when you did that for me. I just need to say thank you. And that's all it is. I just need to let you know that. So I think that's a really, another nice one, which we can often think about as well. Right, so that's around the positive emotion piece about helping us to cultivate longer lasting feelings of positive emotion by purposefully setting out to think in a way which helps us to think well about stuff. So the next one is around engagement in the PERMA model. And what Seligman defines as engagement is when you're so involved in an activity that everything else just goes away. Right? You're in the flow, as they call it, right? And when you're in the flow, there's a few things about it. You're doing things which give you energy. You're doing things which are important for you, not for anybody else. Right? This isn't about project work. This isn't about, I've had to deliver this for my boss, or I have to do this because my lecturer told me I have to get it in on time. It's not about that. It's about doing your own kind of activity where for you, it gives you purpose and meaning. It's where you lose time. It's where there's no judgment on you. And when you're doing it, you're happy to just spend your time in that thing. And when you come out of it, you feel rejuvenated. You feel like you've had the energy. So I often call this my third place. What's your third place? And the reason I say the third place is your first and your second places tend to be your home and they tend to be your work. You know, we have to do those things. We have to go to work in order, well, say you have to. Most people go to work in order to be able to sustain their living. And most people have a home in which you go and have to do homely stuff. And a lot of our energy and time goes into those 2 activities. The third place is yourself. What's the thing you're doing for yourself to strengthen your own stuff? To be the best that you can be. So, it took me a really long time to figure out what my third place was. A really long time. I figured out it's when I go skiing. And what I love about skiing is just being on the mountain. So I'm not a fantastic skier. I don't go for black runs, which are the hard runs, or diamond runs, which are like ice. I don't do that because I don't care about that. I'm not interested in that. I just enjoy being on the snow. That's all I enjoy. I just enjoy being on the snow, on the skis, going down. I don't care if there's people around me or not. I'm just lost. I'm there. I come out of it. I'm feeling great. I'm absolutely feeling great. What I also realized is it's a really hard thing to maintain because it's expensive. So you can't keep doing the bloody thing. And it's an infrequent thing as well. So I was only doing that on an infrequent basis. So I had to actively look for other activities that help rejuvenate me, that help give me that same sense of, I can get lost in this, and I'm happy to get lost in this. And I realized it's my writing. When I write, I love writing. In most forms, I really enjoy it. I just get myself lost in that. So I'm going to just ask you to just think for a moment. Just think around, if you had to think about what your third place was, and if you don't come up with something, that's fine. You know, there's no pressure to have to do that. If you had to think about what your third place is, what is that for you? And just have a think about that. If you want to write it down, write it down. If you want to just keep it in your head, whatever, however it works for you. Okay, so thank you for thinking about that. I'm not going to ask you to have to talk about that. I'm not going to ask you to have to share that back. It's just an important piece to consider, right? As with this whole lecture so far, it's just about stuff for you to consider. How you act on it, how you move forward with it, totally in your hands. Yeah, because all of this is, hopefully, it begins an exploration of yourself, of what do I need? How do I start to do those things more regularly for my life so that when I'm in that, I can appreciate it so much better because I know what I'm doing and I know how it helps me. And I know what I want to get out from that. So the next piece is about relationships. And when we think about relationships, we tend to think about people, and we might say, what a lovely pair. Okay. And so the thing about the relationships is, obviously, I say obviously because some people really don't think about this clearly enough, is relationships are vital to our well-being. Not just the couples, partners relationships, friendships, work relationships. They are absolutely vital. And that's why I started off right at the beginning with the connection piece, with that human connection piece, because it is absolutely vital. We are, as humans, we are wired to have to be with other people. When we find that other significant person and we can enjoy things and life with them, we are better as people. There is also further evidence that shows that if you are in a loving relationship and you're with your partner, you are both likely to be more healthier for longer. Your immune system is actually stronger because of the very thing of being with another person. And it's often why when old couples and one of the partners dies, soon after the other partner dies. Is because there's true heartbreak. It's their immune system has broken down because they don't have that person anymore. And it's sad and it's awful and it's a reality of what happens. But that length of time they've had together, they've built each other up, they've strengthened each other because of their relationship. And it's quite a profound way to think about it, actually. And it also calls into question, am I in the right relationship? Not me, I'm not asking about me, right? I'm saying, right? It starts to ask profound questions of, who do I have in my life that helps me to be strong? Who do I have in my life that helps me strengthen me as an individual? Do I have those people in my life? What I realized over the last 3 years, I went through some intensive therapy at the beginning of last year, and I've had counseling for the last 4 years. And what I've realized over that period of time is I've had to really carefully look at who I have in my life that helps strengthen me as a person. And I've built up some really good friendships now. I can absolutely solidly rely on them, that if I need to talk about stuff, I have the right people there to help strengthen me back again and rebuild my resilience, because I'm human everywhere, as same as everyone else, right? I have bad days. I have times when I'm really gone into a line of thinking and I need someone to bring me back out again. So it calls into question that. It also calls into question the impact of social media on our behaviors. I'm going to come on to that in a moment as well. But the other side of this, about partners in particular, is what we know is that for a healthy relationship, appreciation is one of the key things that is one of the key things that you need for a relationship to be healthy. You have to be able to appreciate each other. You have to be able to tell each other in a genuine way what you love about the other person, why they're awesome. I love having you as my partner because of this. Not just, I love you, dear partner, but I love you, and these are the things about you that I love. They make you an awesome human being, and I really appreciate those things when you do them for me. It's similar to the 3 Good Things Act, right? It's not just thinking, oh yeah, good things happen today. It's expressing and articulating why they are important. It's being able to share that with your significant other so that they understand it, because they're going to want to do it more regularly if they understand what that looks like and feels like for them, and for you as an individual as well. So, and what we also know about that is there needs to be a greater degree of appreciation than not. If there's more appreciation in a relationship, you're more likely to be happy together. If you have a balance of, well, some days I have good days with my partner and some days I have bad days with my partner, that's just kind of fraud. And there's a really hard set of discussions there to be had around, are we doing the right stuff for each other? Do we truly know how to help each other be brilliant with each other? And if there's the will and there's the desire for both, how do we build each other up so that it gets into a better place? And then for some relationships, it goes completely the other way, where there's a lot of negative and very, very little positive. That calls for a lot of trouble. And it's probably going to go down the wrong way. It's probably going to mean they're not going to end up being together. And if they do remain together, they're probably really, really unhappy, and it's probably really, really unhealthy. That's just not great. And that's one of the reasons. There's probably many, many reasons, but one of the reasons is appreciation just goes out the window. We forget the need to appreciate because we focus on other things that we think are more important. So it's just some stuff to think about there. The other piece I do want to pick up on this is men are really bad at saying to each other as men, not to necessarily women, but to each other as men, what they appreciate their male friends for. Because they don't do that. Because the type of conversation a man tends to have is, hey, I really think that you're, thanks for coming out today, I really appreciate it, but you're still a dick. What? How does that work? Explain to me how you've just at one time told me I'm a great person and that I'm a bad person as well. That just doesn't work. It's because we as men in society, most men in society, have a real fundamental problem of being able to just accept a compliment from another man. Because for some reason it's frowned upon and we just don't do that. There was a really interesting thread of conversation last week from, I think it was Caitlin Moran, who tweeted out and said, "Men, let me know what's going on for you in your life." The responses were absolutely heartbreaking. Some men said, yeah, you know what, things are good, I'm in a good place. Most men didn't say that. Most men said, I struggle to get by day to day because I don't have anyone to talk to. I don't have anyone telling me how good I am in my life. I don't have any sense of love going on. You're like, whoa, this is hard stuff. Part of that is around the whole toxic masculinity thing that's going on, and we really need to tackle that as a society. Part of that as well, though, is just between friends. It's just not a conversation we're told how to have because we're not taught that that's an okay thing to do. So there's a lot of stuff in this around how do we help relationships to be really strong? How do we move things into better places? And what is it we're actually focusing on when we try and appreciate that about each other? Okay, I've got to move on. Meaning, connections, community. Community is surprisingly one of the surprising things about well-being that we forget. We forget that community is an important aspect of our lives that we can pay attention to. And the thing about community is that when you're with a group of people that help you to feel good, you're more willing to do more stuff for them, and you're investing that time and energy into that group because they're doing good stuff. Be it for charity, be it for your local church, be it for the campus stuff that you got going on. It could be for anything, right? But bringing together a like-minded group of people or finding a like-minded group of people, it can be so helpful for you as an individual. And again, I'm going to come back to it really should be a healthy community. So it doesn't harm anyone, doesn't hurt anyone. You're not disparaging or discriminating or harassing anybody, right? It's all good stuff. It's helping the society, it's helping your community or others to grow, build, be strong, be great people, all of those kind of good things. When we have that as a community piece, it's really, really uplifting for us as people. So I said I was going to come back to the social media piece. So this is, hello, there you go. So what happens in an internet minute in 2018? A lot happens in an internet minute in 2018, right? Every year they update this kind of graph to show us what we're doing in terms of social messaging in lots and lots of different ways. So when I look at this kind of thing, and we're talking about well-being, and we talk about community in particular, what this screams at me about is we are desperate for connection. Absolutely desperate for connection. Because we are trying to find connection in literally hundreds of different places. So I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, I blog, I've got a podcast, I've got my friends, I've got families across all of those different networks and what have you. I'm probably having about 30 different conversations a day. That's exhausting. Right? And then we often also then end up wondering, wow, why am I exhausted? Why am I mentally so tired from stuff? It's because we haven't built the right connections. Right? Because we're not focused in enough on what are the conversations I want to have? How do I avoid the ones where it's just going down into rabbit holes of trolling and having to uphold and defend other people? Those things are okay, right? Defending and upholding other people is great. But if you're doing that a lot, you're just sapping your energy. Your energy is going out completely. So the sense of community and the sense of engagement that we have with each other is really important one that we have to really consider is how much time have I spent here doing this thing, but across my whole day? And how do I rebalance that in a way that helps make sense for me? No, doesn't want to play. Oh, there we go. Right. So the last piece. Yes, got time. Right. So the last piece to think about is achievements. And I want to talk about this a bit more for a particular purpose. One is, and this is part of the PERMA model anyway, but the thing about achievements is that we tend to think about achievements as the big stuff. Right? I bought a house, bought a car, got married, paid off a loan, student loan, whatever it is, right? All kind of big stuff, right? We tend to see those as those are the goals I should be setting for life. Yes, we should. Yeah, absolutely we do. We need life goals. Right? We need life goals to be able to help us to know, have I set out a stall so I know what my ambitions are, and I have some kind of idea as to what that looks like in the future. And when I hit those, I can genuinely celebrate because I know what that looks like. Fantastic. Let's absolutely do that. What about the day-to-day stuff? How do we applaud and celebrate the day-to-day stuff? Because when we don't do that, and we're only focusing on the big stuff, we're not appreciating the stuff that I'm doing well today. Right? So earlier on, we had a comment from the lady who said, when she's told she's doing a good job at work. Fantastic. But how often are we told we're doing a good job? Excuse me. It's not often. If I've done something impressive today, who is around me that's going to know that I've done something impressive? Who am I saying that to?
You don't always need to know. You
Go
don't
on.
always need somebody to turn around to you and say, you did a good job, well done. Sometimes you know you've done a good job. You don't need that reinforcement.
Yeah.
You know you can go home and say, yeah, have a good day today.
Absolutely. Because of the achievements. And then the question is, how do we celebrate those achievements? Or do we just accept it as a quiet kind of acceptance? I'm an awesome human being because I did a great thing today, which is a good thing. It's a really good positive self-talk, but we don't celebrate it. Not in the same way that we might celebrate a different big thing, because we don't tend to think of it in that way. We don't tend to think of a daily achievement as a success. We tend to think of it as, that's just daily stuff. That's just life, which it is, but at the same time, we can think of these things in a different way. So the thing I just want to focus on here then is, I just want you to take a moment, write down, and it's going to be the last piece I'll get you to talk to each other about, is over the last week, what have been your achievements? Okay? Just do that last piece, and then we'll do a plenary, we'll wrap up. What have been your achievements over the last week? The last piece then is, for any of the stuff that we talked about with the PERMA model, if you want to know more about it, definitely go ahead and read Seligman's book on Flourish. He talks about it in there, goes into a lot of detail, and it's really, really impressive stuff. Hopefully this has been an interesting one, giving you some new stuff to think about. The last piece I'm going to leave you with is about this thing. So we don't, if we want to change our behaviors, if we want to truly change what we're doing, we have to spend the time to think. And the time to think is, the reflection that we have is vital. And that's because if we want quality outcomes, we have to have quality thinking. We only have quality thinking if we allow ourselves the time and space to actually think our own stuff. It's not something we're great at as people. And that's because we fill our days with busy stuff. I have to get on the commute, I have to get the kids' stuff ready, I've got to do my work, I've got to get the dinner ready. If we don't allow ourselves those down times because we fill it with other stuff. And when we do have downtime, we tend to go to social media, right? So what we don't do is we don't have that downtime to just sit with my own stuff in my own head to let me just think this stuff through. Because that quality of thinking drives our quality of action. If we're feeling and if we realize that, man, I shouldn't have done those things because they haven't made me feel like a great person today, it's because we either didn't think about it clearly enough or we just ran ahead with it and, again, we just didn't think about what we were doing. It's okay to get swept up in stuff, totally okay for that, get swept up in the moment. Friends say, come on, we're going to do this, and you're like, yeah, okay, let's go, let's do that. That's fine. But if we actually want to make change happen, we have to allow ourselves that time and space to be able to sit down with ourselves and think through, what does this mean for me? Who am I as an individual? How do I be the best version of myself that I can be? So I'm going to wrap up with just kind of one final plug. If you want to have some time and space to think about that, I do host a podcast on positive psychology. It's called the 3 Good Podcast, and you can find it pretty much everywhere where they have podcast players. And I think that's me done. Jem, thank you very much. Everyone else, thank you very much for being here today. I really appreciate it.